I was about to do my video and then I heard this cute little meow behind me on the settee couch in America. um, Hello, it's Giselle and this is day 44 and it's the Garden of Eden. Isn't he cute? He's just so precious and adorable. Can you hear him purring? How sweet is that? He's been growing so fast and his tummy's full because I've been out today and I've just fed them. And so he's had some wet food and he has proper filled his belly. Little gannet. Okay, I'm gonna put you down, Angel. There you go. Let me go play with them. So, today, I wanted to talk about the Garden of Eden because I think that it's really important that we do some gardening here when we need to. Because what happens is we don't realize that we are living in the Garden of Eden. At least to me, anyways. And if we each take care of our own little section of the garden, then it's beautiful. And the garden is the garden of the mind. Because of course it's in the mind that we create first and foremost, and then everything else that's produced in this world comes as a product of what we create in the mind. So every experience that we have is either a weed or a flower. And I'm not 100% certain whether it was on one of these videos or on a live video that I did, but I mentioned that at one time. One time, when I was still married, I went to the garden center, which is my ex's family, fairly locally here, and he's cute. And I asked him, I was talking to him about this plant that we had because I wasn't sure if it was a flower or if it was a weed. And he said that what he tells everybody, all of his customers, is that if you like it, it's a flower. And if you don't like it, then it's a weed. I thought, okay, wow. And for me, that ended up developing greater significance because, wow, that has greater significance. As soon as I clicked on to the fact that, like, the mind, our thoughts that we think, our mind is our garden. And we either tend to our garden or we blame somebody else for the state of our garden. It's still our garden. So we can take responsibility for it and make it beautiful. Or we can blame somebody or something else for it being covered in concrete. And that reminds me of a Pearl Jam song, Garden or something like that. It's off of their 10th album. And wonderful album, by the way, because I used to love that when I was younger, and still I love oceans and porch and is it black? So yeah, I need to listen to that album again. But I digress. When it comes to, and I'm umming a lot again, oh my goodness. It's okay, I'll get over it. And you will too. So if you think of our perception of the world and who we are and what we present as all being a product of the mind, the garden of the mind, which doesn't necessarily have to be just the head because it's kind of like all around us. And we actually share the mind. We all have a section of the mind that is our domain. And when we tend to our garden, we clean it up. So I remember I was having difficulty at one point when, after I had left my ex, and I was feeling very overwhelmed, and I thought, you know, why is this happening to me? Like, what am I supposed to do? Because it's very easy when there's a breakdown in a relationship or anytime we have difficulties, it's very easy to either blame the other person or to blame yourself. And neither of which are true, because both are making a victim. And the fact is, and I'm going to challenge some of you on this, the fact is that there's no such thing as a victim, except for it's a little pretend role that we're playing, because truthfully, what we are is we are all creators. So we can create responsibly. And so what I was praying about and what I was asking about at the time, because I was very religious at the time, was this difficulty that I was having. And so I asked about it, and I'm just, let me see if I could tilt that a little bit. So I was asking about it, and what I was told was I wasn't told, right? I should have gotten this sort of right before I started. When I was leaving the house, so I was getting ready in the morning, and then I left the house and I walked out of the house, and on the front garden, so I was asking, like, why is he doing this? Why is this happening? And when I left the house and I walked out, on the front grass, there was a pile of poop. Of course, that's not the word that I used for it at the time. Cat fight. And I thought, okay, so there's poop there. I need to clean it up. There was no moaning. There was no complaining. And let me tell you, previously in my past, I would have really created a problem out of this. But because I'd done a level of personal development, it was just poop. And I thought in my mind, I have a choice. I can complain about this poop and have a problem with it because somebody let their dog come and poop on my garden, or I can just simply clean it up. And if I want to make myself into a victim that somebody's let their dog come and poop on my garden and it's there and I have to clean it up and I shouldn't have to clean it up and I leave it, then what would happen is my kids would most likely step in it. What the heck are you doing? I know that's the way you play, but geez, don't do that. Go away. Oi. She's very loud and complains a lot when she's playing. And so the poop on the garden, I could leave it for my kids to step in it and then track it all through my house. Then that would create an even greater mess. And you know what? I thought it's not worth it. Now, it was a very flash moment that hit in my head. And because previously I might have left it, in earlier years in my life, I might have left it. And then, been a bit like, oh, poor me, right? Because somebody's dog pooped on my garden. It's all in my house now because my kids stepped in it. But that would have been me creating a drama. The thing is that there was a period of time in my life where I wouldn't have known that. And I witnessed it with other people. And I used to witness it with people. That's kind of one of the things that helped me to wake up is witnessing and noticing the stupid stuff that we do. No offense, but we are kind of nuts. So it's sort of taking back the stuff that's not good nuts, that's like unpleasant nuts, and making it so that our crazy's some good crazy. So for me, I saw that and I cleaned it up. And the light bulb went off in my mind. That was the answer to my prayer. That was the answer to my question. I'm not in control of what he or anybody else does, but I am in control of how I respond. So I can make a drama out of it that somebody else lets their dog come and crap on my garden, or I can accept that sometimes people aren't in control of their dog and their dog comes and craps on my garden. And I can clean it up and make it simple, or I can leave it and make it complicated and dirty and worse. And it's my choice, nobody else's. So, when we have experiences, we have a decision of whether we are going to play the victim and let these problems get tracked through our house, the house of our mind, or, you know, the house of our body, the house of our being, or if we are going to do something about it. So, yes, and it's the same thing with weeds, because when people don't tend to their gardens, their weeds end up spreading and they go into neighboring gardens and they create more weeds. So we can complain about this, or we can do the neighborly thing and help each other out. I'm not talking about codependency. I'm talking about care and empathy and support and compassion. So we can be honest and tell people what we're witnessing and how we feel. And the more that we practice and we develop and we grow, the more clearly we will be able to do this. And we can understand. Because sometimes we might communicate with people and it goes all wrong on either end or both ends. And to be able to have the patience to allow somebody else to go through whatever it is that they need to go through to get to the point where they can communicate with us successfully. That's a loving thing to do. To throw stones at them or at yourself is not a loving thing to do. And it not only hurts the other person, and sometimes it might not even hurt the other person, but it hurts you. So don't do that, because it's stupid. You know, it's like self-sabotage. So we can be kind and we can be patient and we can own and clean up our section of the garden. And if we do that, then other people might be interested to know how our garden is so beautiful, and then we can help them. Or by us cleaning up our garden, it makes them realize they can't mess our garden, or that they want to clean up their garden too. Because if you ever noticed, if somebody moves into a neighborhood and they start cleaning up an area, you know, their area, that usually there's a ripple effect and other people do it too. Just like the same thing when I moved into this area, people who'd been living here for a long time told me, oh, this is a terrible neighborhood. You know, people do this and people do that, and you can't trust anybody and you can't trust that, and people move in and they move out. Do you know what the constant was? The constant was the people who were sitting there complaining about the neighborhood and everybody else because they'd been living here for years. And I thought, well, that says something. So if you really care about your neighborhood, you take care of yourself and you do what you can to support your neighborhood. Love thy neighbor equal to yourself. And you take care of yourself and then let everybody else take care of themselves. So this ended up being a long video. I hope it was worth it. There's been a lot of moaning and complaining because she's noisy. She's very loud. Like, I'm American, and in England people think, ooh, you're American and you're loud. Some people don't think that. I got a comment the other day, you're the first American I met that isn't loud. Other people would disagree. It's funny, the stereotypes that we have. So that's another form of tending to your garden. So think about the stereotypes that you have and the labels that you place on people and the beliefs that you have about life and about this world, because it is your world. And the way that you paint it, the way that you see it, and the way that you describe it, that has to do with you. And I know this because my world has changed as I have changed. As I have cleaned my mind, the world around me is different. So I believe in you. I believe in us. And I believe that when we take care of us, everything's beautiful in the way that we want for it to be. And what's wonderful is we have that power. By taking that control, by taking responsibility and control for what is within our power. And everything works out accordingly. So, I'm inviting you. See, she complains, but then she's going back and playing. She did this when she was a kitten, too. I thought she was dying. I thought she was being tortured, and then I noticed she kept running back for more. before. So yes, enjoy your life and tend to your garden, and help teach other people how to tend to their gardens too. Because you give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish and you feed a whole village. Thank you. I love you. Take care. Bye.